Hey, good evening, everyone. Welcome to episode number 10 of Break. Being the hustle. Sorry about that, y'all. Pamela, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey, we're Glass City Pickers. I'm Tanya.
I'm Chris.
I am a nurse at the VA. I work full time, and Chris is a stay-at-home grandpa. That's it.
And we resellers. We forgot about that.
Oh, yeah, we do that too.
And we do that too. My bad, Bill.
The whole point of the show, we resell.
Yes.
Bill Tackett flips to pay the bills on eBay, Instagram, Facebook, Mercari, Amazon. Part-time reseller. Hoping to go full-time one day, but we'll see how it works out.
All right. And for everyone that don't know me, I am Buffalo Picker. I'm also a part-time reseller. I was a federal employee. I can't get it right tonight. And also retired military. So our special guest tonight, and I'm super excited to have him here with us, is Primetime Treasure Hunter. Primetime, I don't know how long he's been in the resale game. I'm sure a long time because he have a huge following. And he's also an expert when it comes to comic books. So we're going to try to tether a little bit on that side of his expertise tonight. We're going to talk about USPS. I'm pretty sure a lot of you all been having problems with delay and people not getting their mail on time. So we're going to discuss that. We're going to talk about things that we accomplished during the week. We're going to do some giveaways. We're going to try to let at least 5 or 6 people leave here tonight with something in their hand. Also, we're going to do a show and tell. So with that being said, Prime Time, the floor is yours.
Thanks very much. It's really an honor to be here. Thanks, Tommy. And everyone else on the panel. It's awesome to be here with you. Yeah, my name's Dominic. I go by the name the Primetime Treasure Hunter. As the name suggests, I like to hunt for treasures. As you can see from behind me on the wall, I love comic books. That's one of my biggest passions. I'd say probably is my biggest. But I also resell anything that is vintage and collectible. It doesn't matter what it is, but that's my main passion area. I have been reselling since a few years after eBay actually started, so around 1999, 2000. And I did it for about 4 years when I was going to graduate school, and then kind of did it on and off afterwards, and have been more intensely into it over the last 3 or 4 years or so. And that's when I started building up the YouTube channel, and also I have a Facebook group, the Facebook Reselling Resource Center as well. So both the YouTube channel and the Facebook group are at about 25,000 members slash subscribers in it at this point. So yeah, I have all sorts of content on my channel: treasure hunts, educational videos, what sold videos, and comics often appear in one form or another here or there. So I think Bill knows.
Yeah, it was one of the first channels that I found whenever I started reselling.
That's
Okay.
cool. That's cool.
All right, then.
All right. So, can you basically show us what to look for when we're out looking for comics, and the telltale signs on whether or not you got a good comic or you just got another comic book in the pile?
Right. So what you're really looking for the most part, is if you're going to flea markets, for example, or sometimes garage sales, and often just a little tip on garage sales with comic books, a lot of people will not bring their comic books that they have for sale out into the garage sale because they don't want people really rifling through them. So a lot of times when I'm at garage sales and I want comic books, I have to ask, and I just say, hey, do you happen to have any comic books? And out of 100 times I ask that, I'll get a yes, maybe 2 to 5% of the time. And sometimes people just bring out tons of stuff from the basement and wind up selling it. So that's one thing you have to make sure you're asking, because you're not always going to see it. Sorry?
That makes sense.
Yeah. So what you really want to try to do is you want to try to buy them in bulk. That is the best way that you're going to get a deal that you're then eventually going to hopefully find some gems in that you can make some money on. So the question I get asked the most is, how much should I try to pay for the comic book? So-and-so says they want this much. How much should I really pay? So two kind of rules of thumb. First, you have to know about the types of boxes you're going to find them in. There's generally what's called a short box and a long box. So let me just show you a short box here.
Blow them up, Buffalo.
All right. Here we go. So this is a short box right here. Okay. And if they are bagged and boarded, and that's another term that you need to know about. Okay. Bagged and boarded. So they have a plastic seal around it and this protective board, which prevents it from bending. This would fit about, if it's totally filled, jam-packed, it's going to fit about 135 to 140 comics in there. If they're not bagged and boarded, it's going to fit around 200. And if it's a mixture of them, it's somewhere in between that. So you need to know that. We're going to do the calculation that I'm going to tell you about in a moment. So next is what's called a long box. All right, so let me get that up here. So I'm going to really test my strength here. Hold on a second. All right, so this is a long box, okay? So that right there, that's going to fit about 275 comics in it. And if they're bagged and boarded. If they're not bagged and boarded, it's going to fit about 400 in there. The rule of thumb, what you're trying to do is you're trying to source the comic books for about 10 cents to 20 cents a piece, with an average being about 15 cents. Now, that is much harder to do if you are just trying to buy a short box of comics from somebody. It's easier to pull this off if you start off buying many hundreds of comic books at once. I wouldn't suggest, if it's your first time going out to buy comic books, that you go buy thousands of them at once. But if you get a relatively small collection, and yes, several hundred would be a relatively small collection, you might be able to make that type of deal work. So in terms of what to look for, generally you want to try to find comic books, and again, there's exceptions to everything I'm going to tell you tonight, but in general, you want to try to find things that are from the 1980s or earlier. But there are books from the 90s and current that are also still very popular that you want to look for as well. Good example would be New Mutants 98, which is the first appearance of Deadpool, which is, a graded 9.8 of that is selling for thousands of dollars now. So there are exceptions. Sometimes people say all 1990s comics are trash and they're not worth anything. That's not 100% true. There are some gems in there. The thing to keep in mind with 1990s comics, and if you see a lot of them, you might want to veer away from those and towards the older ones unless you knew of the gems to look for. Because what happened is that in the 1990s, the comic book companies started overproducing the comic books. And so a lot of people were buying them up thinking that they were going to be worth a lot down the road, but they weren't, because everyone was holding on to them and didn't realize that they were holding on to a mass-produced product. So to this day, even 30 years later, a lot of them really just haven't increased significantly in value because of that. So that's an important thing to keep in mind. Another thing that you want to pay attention to right now especially is any comic book.
You tripping today, big bro?
Did I go off?
No, man. Playing right. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
That's the host.
That's all right. I've done it too. I know. So anything that is related to any news right now that's coming out of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, or anything that's going on, like say a show coming out on Disney Plus. I'll give you a good example. Okay, right here. I just picked this up the other day for just a few bucks. Now, this is not something that you would think of as a traditional comic book like the one I just showed you in the bag on the board. This is from Marvel's Essential series, and these are basically black and white reproductions of comic books. But this one right here, you can't find this right now for less than $55. And one of the reasons for that is what we call speculation. There's speculation about the popularity of certain shows and certain movies that are coming out with certain characters. So for example, Moon Knight, there's going to be a show on Disney Plus, and it's probably going to be awesome. It's going to be super popular. So that's driving up the values. Anytime there's any kind of announcement about any character, you really should try to keep up with that type of news and look up any comic books that are related to the characters that are in the news, because first appearances of those characters, there are literally comic books right now that are jumping up from $2 comic books to $200 comic books literally overnight when they're announcing something related to a character. So that's another tip, is that sometimes you may buy some comics and they might not be worth much at the time, but hold on to them for a few years if you're willing to do that. And some announcement comes out related to a Marvel movie, and that all of a sudden could blow up the value of your book. Now, another thing that you're looking for is certain popular characters. So Amazing Spider-Man is one of the ones you always want to look for. The older, the better with Amazing Spider-Man. And there's different types of Spider-Man titles. So you have to be careful, because Marvel Tales has Spider-Man on it. But Marvel Tales are reprints of Amazing Spider-Man. So there's really not any Marvel Tales that are worth a lot. Then there's Web of Spider-Man, Spectacular Spider-Man, Ultimate Spider-Man, there's all these other ones. The key point is pay attention to Amazing Spider-Man. That's the classic series that spun off of Amazing Fantasy 15, which is his first appearance, and that's why they called that title Amazing Spider-Man. They named it after Amazing Fantasy 15. Batman, obviously very popular. Anything right now having to deal with the Avengers, so anything related to WandaVision is going to be very popular. Right now, they're coming out with the whole Winter Soldier series. In fact, it's coming out today, the first episode of that. So that's going to be very popular. Anything associated with Winter Soldier. So also look for consecutive runs, even if you have a character that maybe is not the most popular one at the moment. Like my favorite comic book character, as you can see behind me, is Silver Surfer. Now he's popular to an extent, but he's not like real hot right now in the Marvel universe. Yet, if you came across a lot of comics, and let's say you had 20, 30, 40 consecutive issues of that or near consecutive, that's perfect because you could bundle lot those types of things together. So that's another thing to look for are consecutive issues, no matter what year they come out with. Now,
I want to
yeah,
interject. I saw all the comics that you had, like in the closet, in the garage, down in the basement. And so, how do you separate those? Do you have them separated by like the character or the years, or how you have them separated?
That's a great question. That is a question that has, especially as your collection grows, it becomes more and more challenging to deal with, especially in my situation, because I buy collections out by the thousands, so up to the thousands. So I have so many. You have to come up with different ways on how to manage it. Now, on a more basic level, if you don't have a lot, if you have a few boxes, the best approach is to just organize them alphabetically. That's it. Alphabetically, but you have to keep in mind, and this is another little tip. I don't know if I could find an example for you right here. Hold on, let me see if I can find one, because comic book titles could be kind of tricky. So hold on, let me see if I can find it. Kind of make the point I wanted to. Well, I don't have one right here that I could immediately pull out. But the thing that happens sometimes with comic book titles is that there'll be a storyline that cuts across the top of the comic book. So it would say, for example, Secret Wars, and it might be a running story throughout several other main comic books. Like it might run through, let's say, Incredible Hulk or Spider-Man, and you might look at it and think, oh, the title of this book is Secret Wars, but it's not. It's actually the Incredible Hulk issue. The way to know what the actual title of the book is, you have to open it up, look inside, and there'll be a little indication on the bottom. It'll tell you like a publisher note, and that's where you'll go and you'll find the actual title. And I say that because sometimes people get really confused when they're trying to sort their comic books, because they get the actual title confused with the storyline that they run across the top of the book. A good example, let's say, where people get confused too, is like, there's an issue called a series called Marvel Spotlight. And so it'll say on the top, Marvel Spotlight on, and then in big giant letters, it says Spider-Man. So someone sees that and they think, wow, I just found an old Spider-Man book. But you really didn't. You found an old Marvel Spotlight book that's not really worth that much. So that's another thing. But yeah, you want to try to alphabetize them by title. But if you got a collection of, let's say, a bunch of mixed comics, but then you have, let's say, 200 Spider-Man comic books, it makes sense to just take the Spider-Man comic books and put them in a separate box. And that you'll just call your Spider-Man box. Or you might have a Star Trek box. If you start doing what I'm doing, which is buying massive collections out, it literally becomes impossible unless you have a team of people working for you to organize all of them alphabetically, because it's just too overwhelming and there's just too many boxes. So what I do in those situations is I call each, like, let's say you have a palette, okay? I'd call that a series. So palette 1 would be called series 1, and I'd organize that. And then I'd have another palette, which would be series 2, and another one would be series 3. So I organize them separately, and then as I can, I alphabetize them separately. Then as I can, I could go and I could try to integrate things. So I could say, okay, series, and I'll mark it on the box. It'll say series 1, A to B, series 2, second palette, B to C. So then what happens is someone contacts me and says, hey, I'm looking for, Amazing Spider-Man issue 129, first Punisher. I say, okay, let me go and look. And I go to, series 1, and I go to the A's, I check it out, it's not there, but now I could go to series 2 and I could look in that section. So sometimes you have to break it out into sections with the goal of trying to integrate it down the road. So, but it's definitely a challenge. It could really get overwhelming.
Yeah, that's what always seemed so difficult for me was how you would inventory that sort of a collection whenever you have that many pieces.
Yeah. You really cannot inventory them individually. It's too much. So you have to inventory them based on how many boxes you bought and how many estimated pieces you have, using those numbers that I just told you. And that's why I told you those numbers earlier, because when you're out and this is very important for resellers, when you're out and you're trying to source a collection of comic books, it is very easy to just get overwhelmed and either undercount the books or overcount the books. And trust me when I tell you this, that the person selling you the comics is going to likely do one of those two things. So they're going to overestimate it and try to charge you way more than they should, telling you, oh, there's 1,000 comic books in there. And there's not. There's like 500. That makes a big difference. Or they'll say, oh, yeah, I can't tell you how many times I heard this. Yeah, I have about 300 comic books. I show up and they have like 1,000. So that's important. So if you know those numbers that I just told you, 135 to 140 bagged and boarded in a short box and 275 bagged and boarded in a long box, that then helps you easily take out your calculator on your phone and take the dollar amount, just do some division, and you could figure out where you need to be at, to get about 10 to 20 cents per book. And don't feel shy, by the way, of telling the person you're buying from, listen, I'm buying wholesale. I'm not buying as a collector, so I need to get for that amount of money. Now, another thing I tell you about the bagged and boarded, because these are kind of things you're going to hear when you negotiate. I hear this all the time. So someone's trying to sell me an old collection. Now, this one's new, but let's just say it's old. And they'll say, they're all bagged and boarded. So some people they may think, if they don't know much about comics, that just because the comic is in a bag and a board, that all of a sudden makes it near mint. Well, I could take this comic book out right now. I could rip the back of it or something inside, put it back in. Now, is it all of a sudden magically near mint condition? No. So that happens a lot. You have to remember that when you're sourcing a big collection, that there's going to be some damage in there. And that's true for no matter anything you source is a lot. You guys notice anything you source is a lot, right. But it's the same with comics. You're going to pull one out. You think, oh, wow, this looks great. And then your heart's going to sink because the back cover's torn off or there's a coupon ripped out inside or something like that. Those kind of things happen.
Right. You had a question in the chat too. Her Beaver Trimmers said that does the movies for the comics increase the value or hurt the value?
It's absolutely increasing the value to dramatic levels unseen before. This is literally the best time to be in comic books. I've been talking about comics on my channel since I started it, but for whatever reason, a lot of resellers seem to have a mental block about it because they didn't grow up with it. It wasn't their thing. And so even when I talk about it, they just can't seem to get their heads wrapped around it. But it's really worth trying to learn because, again, this is the time that there's just so much money in it. Now, I will tell you, because I said, make sure that you're paying attention to the news. The moment you want to try to pounce on getting a book that's going to increase in value is the moment the news drops. That's when you got to make a move in terms of making an investment in a book. If you wait until the movie drops, the release day, and then you think you're going to go buy the book, and that's not the time to do it. You want to invest early. You got to be in the know, have that advanced knowledge.
Comic books are one of those things I'm afraid if I ever buy them, I just keep them. That's one of those things that could make me a hoarder.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's one of the things that when I shifted from collecting to selling, I had to make sure I told myself I cannot have an emotional attachment to these books. Now, granted, I will hold on to them for a while and, wait until I sell it, so like, a good example would be this one that I bought. This is actually part of my personal collection. I didn't really buy it with the intention to resell Submariner #1, but, in the back of my mind, I always know that at some point I will sell it, eventually. But
who was that?
That is Submariner #1 right here. So I bought this many, many years ago for $87 as an investment. And now if I tried to sell this, I could definitely get many hundreds of dollars out of this. Might even be worth getting it graded which that brings up a whole nother point. I know, Tommy, you have some graded comic books and you're throwing them on
yeah, before we get into that, then I
Okay.
definitely have some questions about that, the
Okay.
graded side of the house. Let me
Yep.
give a shout out to the chat. Nana Tank, thank you for coming out, being the first in the chat.
Oh, Nana Tank.
Save Here First, thank you for coming out. Bearded Thrift Machine, thank you for coming out. Thrift and Flip, thank you for coming out. Jennifer Hayes, as always, thank you for what you do for the show. All in one package. Everybody know that's the wife. Thank you for coming out.
What's up, Bridget?
Lucky Charm Wendy, thank you for coming out. Rachel H, thank you for coming out. Marie, thank you for coming out. Hope you're enjoying the grandkids. Get Money Quickly, thank you for coming out. The Middleman Pirker, thank you for coming out.
Middleman.
Get Money Quickly. I think I just gave you a shout out. I'm sorry about that. I'm off tonight. Eric, thank you for coming out. Did I miss somebody, y'all? Too much
Danny
info?
May. Danny May.
I think you said Danny May, didn't you?
eBay Addict, you said.
Porcelain G, that's my daughter, y'all. Thank you for coming out.
Baby girl. Save Her First.
My Shade Beaver, thanks for coming out. Philly Flippers, thank you for coming out.
What's up, Philly?
Kids Deals and more. Hey, if we miss y'all, hey, forgive us tonight. But if we see you pop up, gonna try to give you a shout out. Hollywood Resellers.
Hey,
okay,
man,
let's get it.
Screen, man.
Regina Michelle, thank you for coming out.
What's up,
yeah, so prime time, let's get into the graded comics, because that's more the line that I'm in. I do buy some comics that are not graded, but I try to stick with the graded ones, and I got a couple that I'm going to show you tonight and just get your opinion on it.
Sure. So it's a question I get asked a lot. I have a whole detailed video about graded comic books on my channel. You should know that there are several companies that grade comic books, but the one that most collectors want to grade their comic books is CGC. So that's number one. So the reason for that is that up until recently, CGC was the only company grading comic books that actually maintained a database that would literally tell everybody how many were actually graded in a certain condition. And it's a grading scale that goes from 0 to 10. Now, 10s are almost impossible to get. That would be gem mint. You could get a 9.9. It's very difficult to find. I have an example of a 9.9 here, which actually gives it a gold little designation up top. But what most collectors are chasing is the 9.8. So the near mint to mint book. That's what they're really looking for. They want that 9.8. So in terms of whether or not you should send that book out to be graded, the thing you really need to know, you need to really understand the condition of your book, because as good as you think the condition is of your book, when you send it off to one of these grading companies, they're going to go over it with a fine-tooth comb, not just the cover. They're going to go over every single page. They're going to look for every little crease, every little indentation, any little area of color fading. So you need to know it inside and out. So what I would suggest is picking up a book called Overstreet's Guide to Grading Comic Books. Now, they have a new edition that's mailing out now. The last one was 2016, but it's awesome because it goes through every single grade with multiple pictures for, all sorts of condition flaws that would result in a particular grade. So then hey, this looks like this would be more of an 8.0 or a 7.0 or a 9.0. And the reason you need to know that is because there's costs associated with grading your comic book. So you got to ship it out to them. You got to pay for that. You got to pay for them to ship it back. You have to pay for them to grade it. And they're many, many months behind if you just send it in and just expect it, back on a regular time basis. That's going to be many, 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 many months. So a lot of people will then pay to expedite it. So that's an additional fee on top of that. At the most basic level, you're going to pay about $35 to get a comic book graded. However, if it's a comic book that's a real key issue, or it's one that has a really high potential value, they're going to charge you a percent of what you think that book is actually worth. And so usually it's like around 3%, which could be really high if you have a book that could potentially be worth thousands and thousands of dollars. So you have to work that into it as well. So what you want to do is you want to look up on eBay and on other websites like comicspriceguide.com. They'll actually, on comicspriceguide.com, what they'll do is they'll give you a breakdown of how much the book is estimated to be worth raw. So raw means like this, not graded. And then they'll tell you what it would be worth if it was actually graded in a case. Now, sometimes the difference comes back that there's many thousands of dollars of difference between a graded copy and one that's ungraded. So that would be an example of one you want to send out. But again, you got to be sure, because if not, just being off 2 decimal points in your grading, so if it goes down from a 9.8 to a 9.6 or a 9.6 to a 9.4, that could cost you big time money with a loss of that grade. So you want to be really confident. I would suggest bringing it to a few comic shops and people who are experts and having them look at it before you send it out if you're not really sure yourself. But believe it or not, sometimes there's not a big difference if it's a lower grade book and it's one that's fairly common. There's not a big difference between if it's graded versus if it's not, because it might not be desirable at a certain point. You got to remember, these things are trophies. That's what they're for. They're encapsulated in a trophy to display because the collector is proud. You could technically crack them open, but when you crack them open, it voids the grade. So you don't really want to do that. So that's why people are buying them, and they're proud of the number that they have up top. They want to brag about that and show that. So that's an important thing. So if you have a relatively common book that a lot of people have as in the 9 range or in the 8 range, and yours is a 6, no one's going to want to buy that, so it's not going to have much value. However, another thing to keep in mind is that if you have a book that is relatively rare, there's not many of them around, then even if you have a lower grade on it, like this one here, this GI Combat, I'll take it out of the bag here. So this is a 7.5. It's not a 9.8. This one is desirable because this one here that I have, this is the single highest graded that this book has ever got when it was signed. And that's why it has a yellow label up top. That means it is a signed book and it was witnessed by a representative of CGC. You cannot go get your book signed at a convention somewhere and then send it into CGC and have them verify it. They won't do that. They have to literally observe the signature take place. So that's an important thing. So, it can be worth it. It might not. What I generally tend to do is I make strategic investments on certain high value comic books that are literally the single highest graded in the market. This would be an example right here of one. This 9.9 that I showed you, there's no higher grade than this one. Literally, no one has a higher grade from CGC. Here's another example. Every single one of my graded comic books for sale now, they're all single highest graded. This one actually is historically significant. This book actually comes from the original Mile High comic collection that was discovered. I have a whole video on me going to the world's largest comic store in Denver, Colorado, and interviewing Chuck Rosansky, the owner of the store who founded Mile High Comics. This was part of his legendary collection that he found. So this one is actually what they call, it's from a pedigree. It's from a certain specific collection, and so it gives it some added value. But the reason why this is important in terms of having the single highest graded is when you have that, you literally set the market because no one has a higher graded comic than you. Just to show you again why this is important, I literally sold just the other day a Planet of the Apes #1 from 1974. It's a 9.8. Sounds great, right? A 9.8. Guess what? No one else has it graded as a 9.9. No one has one graded as a 10. But there's 69 other people in the world that have that book as a 9.8. It was my only one that's called highest graded, but not the single highest graded, because the highest I ever went to is a 9.8, but 69 other people have it. So the problem that caused for me is I then had to wait for all of the other ones to go off the market, and I had to wait about a year to sell it. It did sell, and I made a nice profit on it, but that was because at the time I sold it, that was the moment that there literally were no other ones on the market, but another one could pop up at any time. So if you can, you want to try to make some of those investments eventually in the single highest graded ones.
Brian, we got a couple questions here in the chat, and then we're going to go into doing our first giveaway. The first question was, see, can I find it here? Oh, my Shade Beaver saying they have a signed Stan Lee comic. Do you think it's worth getting it graded?
Yes, but the thing is, this gets back to what I was just saying earlier, that CGC is not going
They have to
to
witness.
Yeah, what had to have been witnessed by Stan Lee. That's the thing. Now, there is another company called CBCS that you could send it to, and I believe they do their own signature verification on it. But then you run into the problem that CBCS is not as desirable as CGC still. So, but regarding the issue of because he signed too much, Stan Lee did sign a lot, but Stan Lee is now deceased, and he's a legend.
No
He's a legend, and a Stan Lee signed book will sometimes command triple, quadruple the price compared to one that's not signed by him. So, Stan Lee's, if you can find Stan Lee signed stuff and it's legitimate, yeah, it's totally worth it.
Hollywood Reseller wants to know what was the most expensive comic book you have sold?
One time I unknowingly, I didn't realize I had it, and for over a year I bought a collection from a guy who worked for Got Junk. They did clearances. So I bought a big comic book collection from him, and well, I shouldn't say big. It was like a few boxes. I had it sitting next to me down here for about a year until I finally decided to go through it thoroughly and look in it. And I found Giant Size X-Men #1 in there, which is one of the most coveted books from comic collectors. It was a mid-grade book. It was, like I'd rate it like a 5. So I only had like 15 cents invested in the comic book, and I put it up, and it sold like that for $1,250. Now that sounds like a lot of money, but the thing is, if that book, believe it or not, now sit down for this one. If that book was, let's say it was graded and it was a 9.8, that book literally sell for many, many tens of thousands of dollars now. I mean, it's crazy. So there's big time money that you can make if you really get into this area and, start acquiring some knowledge about it.
All right. So we're going to take a pause here and do the quick giveaway. And for everybody out in the audience, we're going to do it like we normally do. But this time for our celebration of our 10th show for this year, I'm going to let the panel get involved with the winning of these prizes as prizes as well. And I'm just going to be the gatekeeper of the number for the night. So if you can, go ahead and put a number in the chat from 1 to 50. 1 to 50. Panel, you're going to have to send your number through the chat. All right, the closest to that number is going to win. 1 to 50. Only put one number in the chat, please. One number. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So what we got here? Make sure you drop the number in the chat. What we got here? All right,
Do
we're
you
gonna
want me
cut it
to-
off in like 30 seconds, y'all.
Yeah. In regards to what says on the screen there about the COA, unfortunately, CGC is not going to care about what Beckett says. So it doesn't matter. They literally CGC only trusts what they saw and witnessed. So it's still going to give it value compared to if you did not have that COA, certificate of authenticity. But in terms of having them give it the yellow seal up top, they won't do that.
All right, y'all. So this gonna seem like it's rigged. I already know the middleman. So all right. So the number you had the middleman. Where are you at? The middleman. The middleman was at 32. We had I'm just calling out your number if you was like close. Middleman 32,
Tell me if I got it.
all in one package at 34. And Glass City Pickers came in first at 33. So see here.
I was going to pick 43. Thank God Chris said 33.
That's the number, y'all. It's right there, circle. All right. So Glass City Pickers, this is what y'all gonna win. This is the first prize. This is a Game of Thrones card game.
Nice.
Thank you, sir.
So I got another one of these to give away, and then we're gonna get into the good stuff.
Wait a minute. I want the good stuff. I just won.
Hey man, ain't how it rolls. So this is y'all winnings right here. Put your
Appreciate
name on it.
I finally
Glass
win
City.
something and it's not the good stuff. Seriously?
Hey man, I mean I'm allowing you to play. You still
See,
gonna play?
I told you shopping on the low side is rigged. See,
I'm not mad about winning. I'm a little upset the fact that you said the good stuff's coming. So I
Hey,
win
hey.
with the okay stuff.
All right, so the speed is up. Go ahead, everyone, and drop the number in the chat once again from 1 to 50. 1 to 50. One to 50. Are you gonna cut it off in 2 minutes, y'all? 2 minutes. Anybody can answer this one because I never had them reach out to me. Philly Flipper saying that has eBay ever reached out to anyone after they did a rant video? I guess going off on eBay.
No. I've never gone off on eBay though, so
I have done some of those videos a few times. They have not reached out to me though, but I know they have reached out to some others who have done it, like Rally Roots, for example, Rockstar Flipper. They've reached out to them. They reached out to Lonnie from Shed Flips recently when he did a rant video. So sometimes they will.
Okay, the big YouTubers. All right, so let's see who's close to this number. We got Bill Tackett. Man, y'all finna make this thing look like it rigged, man.
I told you.
The Nana Tank.
Gotta take that 42.
Who we got here? So the number, and make sure I didn't miss somebody, y'all. The number is 40. 40. Did I miss anybody? I think the winner is Bill. Did I miss anybody?
hold on, I'm looking.
I think I got it right. Bill and Nana Tank was the closest to the number. Let's see, 42 and 41. All right, Bill. Game of Thrones. Here you go. All right.
Jennifer, was that for me? Be like, you got to play this time. I am.
All right, so we're gonna do one more, and then we're gonna get back into it. We're gonna switch. Unless you got some more questions for our guests about comments, we're gonna switch the show towards USPS and the issues they're having with delayed mail. So we're gonna do one more. And the next giveaway is gonna be Legos. Gonna be a set of Legos. You got this. What is this called? Diving yacht.
Got that for JJ.
And you got the Porsche. Got a little box damage right here, but I mean, you can still sell it. Haven't been busted. This one is pretty much in pristine condition. This one has a little box damage. So go ahead and drop a number in the chat from 1 to 50. 1 to 50. You're gonna get both. That's a set.
Pick a number, baby.
Okay, quit picking my number, y'all.
All right, 1 to 50. We're gonna cut it off in a minute. Go ahead. Go ahead. Say he did a rant video. Nobody reached out to him. All right. All right. 30 seconds, y'all. All right, we're closing it up. All right, so let's see who's close. All right, we got Prime Time. We got Jawhead. Let's see who else we got in here. All right, so the winner for this one is coming in at number 4. If anybody see anything closer, and I'm gonna put the number up here. The number is number 1. All right, we had 30, 40, and now it's number 1.
Wait a minute.
And,
Doesn't Kayla have the number 1?
Yeah, Kayla has number 1.
Kayla,
where is that?
Kayla,
that's why I'm asking y'all.
Yeah, right above Nana Tink.
Okay, so let's see. Nana Tank I got Nana Tank at 25.
No, she's right below Hollywood Reseller and right above Nana Tink. Yeah.
Okay.
She picked
Kayla's
one.
Southern Pearl Thrift.
Yeah, she picked one. She got
I
it.
do believe that's Bearded Thrift Machine's better half.
Okay, so Kayla. All right, Kayla, you hit it nail on the head, number 1. So for everybody that won, except for Glass City, make sure you send me your Bill. I think I got yours as well. Send me your address so I can get this out to you by tomorrow. So we're gonna get back into the show, and then I have 2 more giveaways, and I can go ahead and show you what I'm giving away. In the spirit of comic books, for our special guest tonight, I'm giving away a graded 9.2 Wolverine, Wolverine number 8. This is one of the giveaways, and the other giveaway is the Marvel Legend Deadpool. So these are the last 2 giveaways, and I'm gonna give it away at the end of the show. So before we switch gears, let me take my screen down. before we switch gears, man, I want to ask you a quick question about this graded comic here. I have 3 signatures on here. I think it's what is his name? John Romita Jr.
John Romita Jr. Yeah, very very popular
Amanda
artist.
Connors and
Amanda Connors.
Jimmy
Yeah.
Palmati.
What was the last one?
Jimmy Palmati.
Yeah, they're all very popular. Yeah, especially the first 2, Romita and Connor.
Blow this up, man.
Oh,
I
yeah.
got another one. I want to show you, but I'm gonna wait till your contest that I supposed to come back to.
Yeah.
That battle, the resale battle.
Oh yeah. The thrift
I'm gonna
battle.
wait to bring that one, but this one right here. So, with your expert opinion, this is signed by 3 different people.
Right.
Do you think what would you think this would be rated as for its cost? Because I think I got a steal on it.
What's the question?
So how much you think this is worth out there in the market right now? Because I believe I got a steal on it. I just, I want to make sure I got a steal on it. I'm asking you your expert opinion. What's the 3 original signatures in the 9.8 grade? And with the Harley Quinn cult culture out there, right. You think I got a steal?
Yeah. That I would think that's probably, without running the numbers on it, that's probably you're probably able to get a few $100s out of that. Okay. Harley Quinn is one of the most popular characters around still. She's a very edgy character, as you know. The artist who signed that are very popular artists, and you have multiple on the cover. That's another plus. You have it graded as a 9.8. Now it is a more modern comic, so there are chances that there are other 9.8s out there and other 9.8s out there that have been signed. I don't know how many have been signed by those 3, but that's going to be a desire. There can't be that many, and that's going to be very desirable. Someone's definitely going to pay up for that book.
I got this one right here, and the guy that was selling it, it was just something that he had came across from a relative that used to collect them or whatever, and he didn't know the value, and I got this for $42.
So you got a steal on that. Yeah, you totally did. I would buy that in 2. That's one of those things where you don't negotiate. You just say, here's the $42, and you run out as fast as you can.
Yeah.
You say, good night, everybody.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. So who that was? Kayla, y'all said that one, Kayla?
Yes.
Yeah, Kayla, make sure you send me your address at my Instagram, Buffalo Picker. So we're gonna switch gears and we're gonna talk about USPS. I put a little clip into my video, so we're gonna look at it for about a minute and then we're gonna talk about it.
The holiday season is long over, but the post office still can't seem to catch up.
Over the course of the last few weeks, we weren't getting any mail at all.
Are we getting mail today? And he goes, nope. I said, are we getting mail tomorrow? He goes, nope.
On Capitol Hill Wednesday, the Postmaster General apologized.
During this peak season, we fell far short of meeting our service targets. Too many Americans were left waiting for weeks for important deliveries of mail and packages.
The numbers aren't good. The Postal Service lost $69 billion in the last 11 years. It is saddled with an expensive mandate from Congress to prepay all retiree health benefits. On top of that, people just don't mail as many letters as they used to, something this new fleet of electric delivery trucks won't be able to change. The Postmaster General suggesting more.
Hey, we ain't gonna hear no more of that, man. I try to keep this show from talking about politics, but somebody got the YouTube on. I try. Y'all hear the feedback?
I don't hear it.
Yeah,
I don't hear it on my side.
Okay. I know I hear some feedback. Okay, well, whatever. Yeah, so I try not to do politics on this show. Just try to stay away from that stuff. But because USPS is part of our continuous livelihood as a reseller. I just wanted to bring that up because I got a lot of people that I know in the resale business is constantly having problems, including myself, with USPS. So my question to you all are, do you, one, when you take your packages to the post office, do you wait to check them in or do you just drop them off at the drop off point? And when you do check them in and have them scanned and find out that 10 days later it hasn't been delivered, how do you handle that?
For me, I definitely get them all scanned now. I don't ever drop without a scan. But my post offices locally have introduced a scan on the kiosk that you can do a self scan
Right.
before you drop, which has helped a lot, obviously. But if you have more than like 5 or 6 packages, you've got to wait in line for it, unfortunately. But I've been doing that since the middle of November because I had a lot of problems during the holidays, like we all did. So,
right.
The only thing I'm seeing any issues with now, though, is media mail. I ship almost nothing media mail now because it's the only one for me that's getting stuck. Any first class and priority is getting there pretty well on time.
Right. Anybody else?
I always have everything scanned. I would never, I did it one time when we first started out, like maybe fresh into maybe 2 months selling, and I got burnt. Said we never took it there. The post office, of course, held on to it for probably 3 to 4 days. So I stand in line and have them scan every box, and they don't like me, but I don't care. Or I just go to the self scan, like you said, Bill. We have that too, and then I'll take the boxes up there and set them down. You guys see on Instagram, I have my little red wagon. I pull all those boxes in, and yes, you're going to scan every one of them. And there's a couple ladies that give me the, I want to kill you eye right now, but you're going to scan it because I want the receipt showing that I dropped it off. So yeah, I definitely do.
As far as what to do with the customer, all you can do is just explain. I mean, that's the best you can do. But at least if you have a scan and they have tracking, they know that you're not just lying about delivering it.
Right.
I've done my job as a seller to get it shipped within a day. Beyond that, I'm sorry that the postal, service is taking time, but we just have to be as polite as we can with them and try not to let their emotion trigger our emotion. That's the hard part, right?
Yeah, as long as you have the receipt, you're good.
Yeah.
I mean, I could have just, I wish I could have copy and pasted like super fast. I'm sorry, but due to the pandemic and the weather, the post office is running behind right now all winter long, but yeah, we make sure and scan and get a receipt for everything.
Okay. What about you, Dominique?
Well, I don't want to get fruit and eggs thrown at me. I feel kind of guilty, but I am, I guess, spoiled in a way because I am very fortunate that with the post office worker that we've had forever, she is so awesome at doing the pickups. And I know that's not the case for everybody. I know a lot of people have the worst luck with pickups and they just won't come. And yeah, I know. I totally understand that. Now, just to even give you a sense of like how fortunate I am with this is that if I forget, and every once in a while I will, to do a pickup request late at night, I could literally, I've talked about this, I could literally go to my mailbox and I could put a little note on there, put up the little, red flag and say, hey, there's packages on the porch, and she gets them every single time.
Now you're just bragging.
Yeah, I know. Everyone wants to kill me. All right, bye, everybody. I'm sleeping.
We did have a mail lady like that, and she was freaking awesome. We loved her to death. Yeah. But I think that we were sending out like you needed to pick up 60 packages today and another 60 in 3 days.
Yeah.
I think it was too much for her. And we had her for like 6 months. She was wonderful. She'd knock on the door and ask Chris, hey, did you guys have anything? Well, she transferred. And since then, it's honest to God, hit or miss. We might get regular mail twice a week if we're lucky.
Hey, Jawhead Enterprise Entrepreneur said, see what that thing where that said self-scan is good. However, the post office still has to scan them again. for the tracking. Is that y'all?
Yeah, it tells you that right on the screen whenever you're scanning them.
Okay.
But at least you'll have a
okay.
receipt to show eBay if there's an issue showing that you were at the post office and you dropped it.
Right. Okay. So are when you say that the kiosk, are you talking about the machine where you go up and you can actually weigh it and do all
Yeah.
that with it? So
Yeah, you
what
don't
you
have to
just
weigh it or anything. They
So
just
you-
added a scanner to it.
You touch the
Oh.
screen and it say other, and you
Right.
you other.
I got to use that, man. I mean, I got a package that said that it got to New York back in February, and it's still out for delivery since February.
Did you start a lost package scan on it?
I haven't, but I will.
Every time that happened for me over the holidays, I started about 30 lost package scans, and every single time it was found.
Yeah, that's right.
Every single time.
Yeah.
All it was a missed scan.
Yeah, but I want it back,
Right.
man. I mean, because one of the people, Amazon, make me pay them, and I want it back. I don't want it to continue to travel.
Yeah.
Can you when you put that request in, you can request it to come back to you, right? Okay.
I believe so. I don't know that for sure on the lost package because I've never done that side of it. I only did it to get it to the customer, so I don't know for sure.
Okay.
When those problems were happening, I did a video on how to help and how to deal with the customers when you're having the lost packages. And
Right.
communication is key, like Bill said. That's very, very important. But sometimes people were getting impatient, and I was really trying to prevent them from opening up claims. And so to stall for time and to also help try to find a package, like Bill says, I was opening up help requests, and that would get the ball rolling through USPS. And then if that didn't work and they give you like 7 days or so to search for it, then I would open a missing mail search. And that's like kicking it up to another level. And every single time I have ever done that, they've found it except one time many, many, many years ago. And thankfully I had the package insured. And so I got reimbursed for it, but usually they will find it.
Okay.
Yeah, I had 4 that I ended up refunding just because they were getting fairly hostile through eBay, and I basically wanted to make them happy.
Yeah.
So I lost about $60, but in comparison to the number of sales, and it wasn't that big of a deal. Sometimes you just have to bite the bullet with a customer.
Yeah, it's detrimental, especially like you all say, keep open communication with the customer on Amazon, because once that customer go in and put in that A to Z claim on you, if you don't have no dialogue with them, you automatically gonna lose that case.
Yeah.
But if you show that you've been trying to work with them or whatever, Amazon may still give them a refund, but they also gonna give you a refund for your item as well. And that's what I have learned over the years of dealing with the AZ claim, because you can't prevent a customer from putting in a claim on you, but at the same time, you got to have some kind of track record showing that you are communicating with that customer, that you are trying to show that customer some good customer service, even though the package is out of your control. Most of the time, I know on the Amazon side, if they don't go with you and still get a customer refund, they're going to refund you as well.
I think there's always going to be like 1 or 2% of customers that are just looking for a reason to be angry. But for the most part, from what I have found, if you talk to them, they're just as chill as you are about it. The bad part about the Christmas time is it was gifts.
Right.
So like I had multiple gifts, like 3 or 4 gifts that customers were waiting on that they didn't get in time. But none of them asked for refunds. They were all very cool about it, but I talked to them a lot.
With the Nerf gun thing. We had a huge Nerf gun thing that we sent, and it was a grandmother that bought it for her grandson, and she just received it mid-January. And every morning, it was probably every other morning, I wake up and just thinking about you, want to let you know I didn't forget about you. I'm still tracking the package, blah blah blah. But a month and a half late, she got it and she gave me a really great review. She was really happy. So I definitely keep up with the customers. Because I would want something to do that for me. You know what I mean?
Hey, Jennifer just put in the chat that who is that? The Jarhead entrepreneur is trying to get to 1,000, 66 away. If you can, go ahead and subscribe. Hit that link and subscribe to help them out. I make sure I go ahead. I think I've already subscribed, but if I haven't, I will.
Jarhead.
And not to cut anybody off because I know we probably still have some questions, but we're gonna go ahead. We already in overtime. We're 4 minutes past the hour. I'm gonna go ahead and do these two giveaways. I'm gonna do one show and tell, and we're gonna close out the show. Anybody got anything else they want to add before I start the giveaway? Okay, so go ahead and drop the number in the chat from 1 to 50. And the first item I'm gonna give away is this Deadpool. And the only blemish with this item is inside the plastic is a little torn at the top, but all the pieces are there. So this is what you're gonna get.
You did do this, right?
It's one of my old football numbers when I had it. Let's see here.
We don't pick the same number.
Hey, who's her hustle? Thank you for the super chat. Appreciate you. Thank you for coming out as well. All right, let's see what we got here. All right, we're gonna cut it off in 1 minute. Go ahead and drop the number. Jennifer Hayes, if you put your number in the chat. See what we got here. All right, we're gonna close it out, y'all. Hopefully everybody got the number in the chat. All right, so the number, and then so nobody think it's no trickery going on. This is the number 4. Y'all can see that. All right, so let's see who's close. Y'all help me out in the panel.
I see Johnny's got 3.
Yeah, Johnny's the closest, it looks like.
And apparently a lot of us wanted 50 to be it.
Boy, I tell you. Okay, so we got Johnny.
Johnny's got it.
Susie got.
No, she was in after.
Oh, after.
Yeah, nope. Susie was in afterwards. I mean, that's up to you, Big Tom, but she was in after.
Susie came in after the X's.
Yeah.
Yeah. Susie, you're gonna have to get in before the X's. That was the rule, so I'm not gonna change the rules. But I got one more drawing, so hopefully you can get in and get that one.
What are you trying to do?
All right, so the winner on this particular item, the Deadpool. Let me bring that down. The Deadpool is Johnny. Johnny, I think you have won before. So if you can, just go ahead and send me your address again so I can get this out to you. All right, and last but not least, we're going to do this in honor of our special guest, Prime Time. I hope you can win it, Prime.
All right.
Wait a minute. Susie, we're getting ready to pick a number.
All right, so
get in there.
Let me stroll down here. All right, so this is the last item for the night. I'm going to do the giveaway. This is 9.2. Wolverine number 8. It has the date of June 1989. And this is Wolverine with the Hulk appearance. All right. So 1 to 50. 1 to 50. Keeping it simple. 1 to 50. Go ahead and put the number in here.
What's the number again?
1 to 50. 1 to 50. All right. What's up, Emily? Emily Conway in the house.
What's up, Emily?
Maggie Doodle, thank you for coming through. Appreciate y'all shopping on the low. MSG's Treasures, thank y'all for coming out. Justin, thank you for coming out. See, oh, Derek, what's going on, Derek? If y'all ain't watching the show, we have a show every Friday called No Cap. Make sure y'all go ahead and check it out. You can just go to his YouTube channel and you can find the show.
15.
16 and 16.
All right, we're gonna cut it off in about 30 seconds, y'all. 30 seconds.
2, 4, 6, 8, 10.
I mean, there's some people in here.
Oh,
I'm gonna have to start letting somebody else run the numbers because there's some people in here. I think they got the hooks on me. All right, so we're gonna close it out now, and this is the number, and y'all help me find out who the closest. It's that number in the middle, 45. 45. You got 45.
let's
D
see.
middleman. D
Who?
middleman hit it first. Save here first has it. So there's
D
two people
middleman.
with it.
Yeah, D middleman got it first, and then who did you say?
Save here first.
Here first.
All right, you got the same number. You're gonna have to break the tie. So the number was 45. We got two people that has it.
Yep.
All right. All right, the middleman and save here first. Y'all go ahead and put a number from 1 to 10. 1 to 10.
Drum roll.
One to 10. Go ahead and drop the number in the chat, y'all.
I know what it is, y'all. I would tell y'all, but I can't do that. It's money time.
Okay. Middleman hit it right on the head, y'all. So y'all got to stop writing the numbers, man. I got to let somebody else do the numbers.
I told you.
All right, middleman, send me your
Hey, Lex, we got the numbers, man.
Yeah, you do the numbers, man.
Yeah.
Middleman, send me your address, man, so I can get this out to you.
Good win, y'all.
Good win. Let me show y'all this quick show and tell, and then we're gonna do the closeout on this show. If everybody that won tonight, if you can get me your address into Instagram, I appreciate it. I'm trying to get this out by tomorrow.
Toledo, Ohio.
A couple more of them things in the back. A few more of them things in front of
Yeah, that's good.
You know my address.
Yeah, I hear you. Hey, so I want to show y'all. So most of the people that follow my channel, you know that I have ventured off into liquidation. And this is one of the items that I found in my liquidation. And I want to see if anybody can, without looking it up, guess the price on it. And it's actually brand new, steel seal. And it's heavy. It's called the Viva laser projector. Can y'all see that?
You look like you're struggling there.
It's heavy, man.
That's a projector.
Yeah, it's a laser projector. I think it's got 25,000 bulb hours on it. But that thing is, if you know the price, just drop it in the chat. So my Shade Beaver said it was $329. Hollywood resellers $450. I would do another giveaway for anybody that's close to it, but I'm not gonna do it because I know it's easy to go look it up.
I put a guess in there.
Glass City. Yeah, so Glass City got it right. It's this thing is right now.
Wait, I gotta go play the lottery really quick. I'll be right back.
Amazon for I think Amazon has it at $2,600 as the lowest price.
Wow.
So
Nice.
this was one of the items that I found in liquidation. I'm hoping I can find another one, because if I can, that one is going to stay at home, and then I'm going to sell the other one. But yeah, that was just one of the good finds that I had in one of my liquidation pallets that I picked up out of the 24 that I purchased. And sadly, I only been able to get through about 5 of them so far, because it's just so much work. But yeah, those are some of the good things that you can find if you do your homework. If you get out there and you look for the right pallets, don't go just buying some junk just to have a pallet. Then you can find some gems like that in those pallets. And that was like one of the highlights. But I got several things that I found so
wait a
far
minute.
that
Jennifer and Shop It Down the Low. Look, I did not look it up. Yes, I may have had the inside thing on it, but
He just shops a
All
lot.
All right, so we're gonna go around the room and respect people's time. We definitely in extended overtime here. If you got anything you want to plug, go ahead and plug it, and then we're gonna close out the show.
We'll see y'all next week on the Buffalo Picker Show.
what? Have a great weekend, everybody.
Flips to pay the bills on Instagram.
Tomorrow. Happy spring.
All right, Bill.
Flips to pay the bills on Instagram. Post what sold, post things that I pick up. Standard reseller fare.
Yeah, come over to the channel if you haven't seen it before. Primetime Treasure Hunter. Buffalo Picker is one of the winners. He mentioned it earlier, of the Thrift Battle contest I've had going on for over a year, and we're about to wrap up the first round next Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The $1 Million Peddlers are going up against Joe and Jessica Rensing from A&E's TV show Extreme Unboxing. So it's going to be a great battle, and that's going to determine the last set of people who are going to go into the Sweet 16. And so there'll eventually be a champion with a grand prize. And your host here will be in round 2 at some point. So I'm going to have to get together with him and schedule that at some point.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Looking forward. I got some things I'm just putting in the stash, waiting. And if you haven't checked out that show, make sure you go check out. It's unique and it's fun. I didn't know what to expect, but once I got into it and kind of figure out what I'm supposed to do, I was like, man, this is genius, to come up with something like that for resellers. So if you haven't checked it out, it's a nice, well put together game show type atmosphere. Check it out, y'all. Please go check it out. You won't be disappointed.
We got it going on.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, make sure you show up when Buffalo's on, so you can vote for him. And go.
Yeah.
If you didn't if you didn't see the original he was on where he won, it was the Battle of the Pickers.
Yeah,
it was Buffalo Picker versus the Philly Picker. There's a funny scene towards the end where Buffalo just goes off the screen for some. We don't know what the hell's going on.
He disappeared on it.
Hey man, I had to go pull out the big guns, man. It was do or die at that moment.
It was intense.
Yeah, for sure. So once again, everyone, if you won something here tonight, make sure you send me your address in the Instagram. The Flipping Sports guy, man, you missed out. Had a nice giveaway tonight. Probably, I think we gave away about 5 different items here. So maybe you can catch it on the show that we do at show number 25. If you're not a member of the Buffalo Picker resellers community, make sure you go out and join. I think Jennifer has dropped the link in the chat several times.
Thank you, Jennifer.
I created that group for you to advertise your business or promote anything that you want to sell. Drop it in there, and as long as you're not talking politics or being mean, you're good to go. Also, too, we do this show every Friday night at 7:30 unless something urgent happens. And with that being said, defend the hustle.
Steeler Nation.
Take it easy, guys. Have a good weekend.
Have a great weekend, everybody.